Let's talk.
Jules Mountain.
Arctic insanity has been described as a true boy's own adventure for the modern age. When a friend told Jules Mountain he'd bought a helicopter in Canada and we need to ship it home to the Channel Islands by container, Jules thought that sounded crazy. Why not just fly it? It's only 4,300 miles over the polar ice cap. Spoiler alert, he lived to tell the tale, but the book is called Arctic Insanity. It's just one of these stories that when it landed on my desk, I went, no. Not a chance. But the man, he is live, he is direct. I'm delighted to say that not sitting in an igloo somewhere east of Greenland is Jules Mountain himself. Jules, good morning to you.
Good morning, Giles. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. You're not sitting, you're not sitting on the polar ice cap now, are you, Jules?
No, I'm sitting in Guernsey at the moment.
Well, it's pretty much
very, very safe at the moment.
Not a lot of problem with polar bears up there. Just give me a bit of your background, because obviously you know how to fly these things then, presumably.
Well, no, I didn't actually. I only passed my test in 2.5 years before the trip.
No.
So, my basic private pilot's license. So I was really a novice, which is probably why I thought it was a good idea to do it. Because they say if you don't, a little knowledge is a good thing at times. So I didn't really know how dangerous it was.
Right. Okay. So the background is that you've got a friend who's bought a helicopter. So first of all, what sort of helicopter is it? I mean, are we talking Chinook size? Are we talking little fish bowl size? What are we talking about here, Jules?
We're talking little fish bowl size. So it's a Bell 505. It's a replacement of what they used to call the Jet Ranger, which was a very successful helicopter made by Bell. Right. Very good helicopter, and they replaced it with the Bell 505. So it's a five-seater. In the front, pilot, co-pilot, 3 people behind. It's a little glass bubble, basically, with a jet engine strapped over your head. So it's single engine, it's very basic, no oxygen, no safety equipment, and there's no pressurization. It's just a glass bubble with a jet engine strapped on top, and that's it.
I'm looking at a picture of one now, and yes, glass bubble puts it mildly. You can even see your little feet working on the pedals if you want to. If you are a passing penguin and you look up. Did it have floats on it? Did it have skids? I mean, what was on it?
No, it was the basic model. It had no floats, no skids. It had no autopilot either. Which is something you really, really do need in case you hit bad weather. And the key thing with flying a helicopter is you need to be able to see the horizon. Yeah. So the way helicopter pilots fly is they see the horizon. That's your datum line. That's your level. Yeah. Because it's very, very difficult because you're sort of flying in 3 dimensions: up, down, left, right, forwards, backwards. So it's a bit like people that ski will know. You get in a whiteout when you're skiing. Yeah. And you don't know whether you're moving forwards or not. You don't know whether you're actually moving. It's very scary. Well, imagine if you've put another dimension in, up and down as well. So this is not 2-dimensional, this is 3-dimensional. So very scary. So you get in the fog, very, very dangerous. So you always want the horizon that you can see, and that's your level, that's your datum line, and you fly off that. You see, if you get in the fog, it's very easy to turn it upside down.
He said casually, if you get in the fog, it's very easy to turn it upside down. Because this would be my thing. And again, I haven't been invited to the Arctic. I've been invited to Greenland, but let's not even go there. So the horizon is something you kind of need. And forgive my ignorance, Jules, but, it being the Arctic, presumably there's a lot of white around. So actually, and then it gets grey and stormy. So actually working out where the horizon is has got to be something of a challenge.
Yeah, we had a lot of problems where the cloud would come down. You'd lose the horizon. All you'd see is the cloud, and you want to stay below it. Yeah. You want to stay below it or above it. You don't want to go into the cloud. It's freezing fog. It's an absolute disaster because it'll build up on the leading edge of the blades. So you get frost building up on the blades. The blades become unbalanced. It's only 2 blades. Becomes unbalanced. It'll vibrate like mad. And then potentially the blades will fly off. And if the blades fly off, then that's terminal. So you don't want to, you don't want the blades
to fly off. First helicopter piloting.
Yeah, that's not good. So, and of course we're up there and it's minus 14 degrees C. So, it really is very cold. So you do not want to be in the freezing fog under any circumstances.
Did you pack your because the unpressurized cabin, so therefore you didn't pack your thermal socks then, presumably, Jules?
Well, I was wearing a dry suit, which is another thing. It's like the dry suits in case I went down into the freezing water, and there's icebergs everywhere. If I went down, and the problem with these is they've got things on your feet. Your feet are completely encased in this sort of thin rubber wetsuit. It's orange, but it's horrendous. Then it's tight around your neck, and it's tight around your wrists. So you put this thing on, instantly you're sweating. It's like a rubber suit, wearing a rubber suit. Then you've got to get inside the helicopter. Then you've got to get both hands working on the controls and both feet working on the controls. And you're going to be sat there for nearly 5 hours doing that. No toilet, no relaxation, nothing. 5 hours, both hands going, both feet going, and you're in a rubber suit. It's exhausting. So when I was crossing between Canada and Greenland, so I was island hopping. So it was pick up in Canada, fly up north, hop to Greenland, hop from Greenland to Iceland, from Iceland to the Faroe Islands, from the Faroe Islands to Stornoway in Scotland, and then down into the UK.
How much? Just off the top of your, give me a ballpark figure. How much is a Bell 505?
You can look it up.
All right, I'll have a look then. Price. It must have been a very. Here we go. Price. Here we go. Bell 505 price. Basic one. The new one will got you about just over $1 million bucks. It says here. So must have been quite a good friend if he says, okay, Jules, I'll let you have a crack at that one.
Yeah, it was a good friend, but I worked out the maths. I said, how much is it going to cost? So like, let's say you buy a Mercedes or a BMW car, right? From Germany. Yeah. You go to your local dealership, you expect them to deliver it to you, and you pick it up from your local dealership. In
southern Spain, for example, I bought my BMW. I wanted it delivered to myself in Marbella. An awful lot of change. I want it delivered to me. But you're saying it's the same thing. I tell you what, I'll drive it down for the experience.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, talking about Spain, I was at the Faro Bike Festival this weekend just gone, actually. 50,000 bikers. It was mad. But that's another story altogether. That's
50,000 bikers is mad, but flying across the North Pole isn't mad, Jules. Okay, off we go, yes.
That's insanity. That is insanity. Yes. Yeah, so you pick up, you buy your Merc or your Beamer from Germany, and they deliver it to your dealership, and they don't charge you for that because it would make it uneconomic. You buy a helicopter from Canada, it gets delivered to the factory door, and that's it. You go and check it out, you go and look at it, and then that's it. That's yours. Right. I mean, you're saying, well, what about getting it to the UK or wherever, or Europe, or what about? Oh, that's your responsibility, sir. Well, how am I going to do that? Well, we're going to charge you to dismantle it. We're going to charge you to put it in a ship's container. We're going to pack loads of nice foam around it, protect it. Then you're going to pay for shipping, so it's got to be shipped all the way across the Atlantic. You're going to pay the insurance for that as well in case the ship screws it up. Yep. Then when it gets to the UK, you're going to get your maintenance workshop, wherever that happens to be, to reassemble it, flight test it, check it's all right, and then give it to you. And by the way, you're paying for that as well. So you imagine the cost of all that. It's phenomenal. Right. And it's like, man alive, you just bought this thing. And they're not going to deliver it? No, they're not. That's the way it works. And it's the same, I understand it. It's the same with planes. I don't fly planes, but, fixed-wing planes. Yeah. It's the same with them as well. They deliver it at the factory, and then you've got to get it from there. So I looked at the costs, and I said to my mate, look, I can fly that back cheaper. I'm now a qualified pilot, 2.5 years qualified. I think I can fly that back, and it's cheaper. Nobody has ever flown a Bell 505 helicopter transatlantic before.
Aha. So,
but they have flown helicopters transatlantic. They have flown helicopters, but bigger ones, twin-engine ones. Yeah. But nobody's flown a Bell 505. So I was the first person ever to fly a Bell 505 transatlantic.
I hate to state the brilliantly obvious, but if you're a twin-engine helicopter, you've got sort of backup if you
that's the point. Yeah, you have. You've got a lot of resilience there. You just don't want the engine to fail when you're crossing between Canada and Greenland, or Greenland and Iceland, because it's freezing up there. There's icebergs everywhere. There's polar bears. Make a nice lunch, and if you go down, the chances are you're going to die.
Yeah, because strangely enough, I've got a friend who's half Danish, half Inuit. Okay, and she lives in. Her family begins with an N, the capital of Greenland, Nuuk, or Nuuk. Thank you. Obviously, you've been there, and she went with her Italian boyfriend to visit the family, and he said they were on a ferry, and they said, why aren't there any life jackets on the ferry? And it was explained to him that because it's so cold, the water there, you've literally got 45 seconds if you haven't got a dry suit on. Forget a wetsuit, a dry suit. So there's no point having a life jacket on, because if you hit the water, you're just going to be dead in less than a minute.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely right. Which is, that's why we had the dry. That's why the dry suit and a life jacket as well. So you've got the dry suit, a life jacket, and you're trying to fly the helicopter at the same time. So it's very uncomfortable.
So what's the planning involved then? Because you don't just sort of point it. You just don't point it at sort of Greenland and say, "Okay, fire up, here we go." And you said we, so presumably you drag somebody else along for this.
I found a crazy Irish guy called Martin.
Really, that's strange. An Irish guy who was up for it. There is a surprise.
He was, but you had to be a bit mad. Because you had to be a bit mad on this trip because, I sort of say to him, I said, it's not looking too good out there, Martin. It's looking a bit foggy. What do you think? He goes, but Jesus, you're the captain. It's your decision. He said, I go with whatever you decide. And I'm sort of thinking, I'd like a little bit of input here. I didn't say anything. I thought, I'd like a little bit of input here. Two brains are better than one. And he was like, whatever you want to do. And I think you've got to be a bit mad. You've got to be a bit mad to do it. And we were a great team. We were a great team because, if he'd been Mr. Safety, Mr. Cautious, we'd never got the trip done. We'd never got back.
Sure. So what's the range then? Because presumably you're going from Canada, and presumably this is the east side of Canada. You didn't kick off in British Columbia.
Montreal.
Right.
So picked it up in a place called Mirabel, a bit like the ski resort, but it's Mirabel in Montreal in Quebec. And of course, they all speak French down there, so that was quite entertaining. And we were in the factory for 3 days waiting for. So it's not just picking it up. We've got to get the registration sorted out for it as well, and all the documentation to allow it to actually fly. So you need the airworthiness certificate, and everything else, and the registration. And we had to wait for it was an NREG, so American reg,
right?
So we had to wait for the Americans to issue all the paperwork. So I just got down there and I just thought it'd be great. We'll just pick it up and off we go. No. Day one, no paperwork.
Right.
And I said, well, come back tomorrow then. Day 2, no paperwork. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Day 3, no paperwork. And I was like, this is a nightmare. This is an element I was not expecting.
Yeah.
And then on day 3, the paperwork actually turned up, and then there was a mad rush. And they said, why don't you get back to your hotel, rest for the night, and you can leave in the morning? I said, no. I said, otherwise, know what will happen. We'll be messing about. Tomorrow morning we'll come in at 9 o'clock messing about. I said, we're going into lunchtime. I said, I want to get going tonight. I want to go tonight. So we actually left at 4:30 in the afternoon to make the first leg of the journey. And of course we had so how far, you asked me how far can it fly? It can fly for 3 hours.
Right.
That's the maximum it can fly, which is about 400 miles. And we've got to do 4,300 miles.
Okay.
So it does not have the range. And the crossing between Canada and Greenland, I had to try and find the shortest gap. So I had to try and go as far as I possibly could on the east side of Canada and go as near as I can on the west side of Greenland. So the shortest gap between the two. So that was a place called Pang Near Tung in Canada, which is an Inuit settlement.
Yeah.
And then to Sisimiut, which is just south, just north of Nuik, in Greenland. And that was the shortest gap I could find. And that was 4.5 hours flying. And I've got the range of 3 hours only.
So a couple of things here. Presumably this is not working off 2 strokes, so it's got to be something that you can actually refuel with. I mean, you've got to make sure that when you get to the other point, they've got the fuel that you need.
Yeah, well, it's jet. Well, that's a very good point. It's Jet A1. It's jet engine, so it's jet fuel, which is like kerosene. It's like a refined diesel, if you like. And the most incredible thing is, I thought Canada. I've been to Canada a couple of times, not really experienced it as a country as such. And I thought Canada. It's similar to America. So I thought it would all be very much the same. I thought fueling would not be a problem. Oh no. The south of Canada that borders America is very much like America. Yeah. And it's lovely. Love the Canadians. They're really lovely people. Yeah. Very, very friendly. As soon as you head north, it's just trees, and nothing. Couldn't see anything. Nothing, And I'm looking down, I'm thinking there's no house, there's no track, there's no, if I'm flying in the UK...
You've got a railway or a road, haven't you?
Yeah, you get a railway, you get a road, you get a dirt track, there's nothing. Trees. Day 3, the trees stop and it's ice and rocks and snow. And there is nothing. It's a wasteland. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I never quite realised how remote the north part of Canada is. Very beautiful. I'm not knocking it, but I never realised that. And actually, fueling in Canada was a real problem. Fueling in the UK, there's another airfield every 50 miles because they built them all the Second World War. They're everywhere. Yeah. So there's never a problem. In Canada, it was a real problem. And I plotted a route. I plotted a rough route. I got over to got over to Bell, and they've got a test pilot who's going to fly it with you and explain how it works, you know. And these guys, they're ex-military, they are brilliant. So this guy, Martin, really lovely guy. And I'm saying to him, here's my route, I've got my route. And he goes, that is not going to work. And I'm like, really? Why not? And, you know, my face just sunk. Here I am, I'm sitting in the office, day one, really excited. You know, they've unveiled the machine. I'm like, wow, look at that, it's amazing. Can't wait to get behind the controls. And the guys think it's not going to work. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not going to work? And he said, the route is not going to work because you cannot fuel here, you cannot fuel here, and you cannot fuel here. Because it was during COVID. So I put in there's a diamond mine. There's a diamond mine en route. And I thought, oh, that's really cool. Let's drop in at the diamond mine because my navigation system said they got fuel there because they fly the miners in and out on a plane.
Sure.
So they got jet fuel. I thought,
good
cool.
thinking.
I'll drop in there. And you never know, I might just get a little sneaky look around and get in the mine and see. I thought that'd be so cool. That'll be the ice on the cake for the trip. So that's what I planned. Anyway, he said, I bring them up. He said, it's COVID and nobody is going in. They're not letting anybody in. The fuel they have, they are saving for themselves. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. And so I ended up doing this zigzag across the north of Canada. So I'm going northwest, and then I'm going northeast, and then I'm going northwest, and it's like a zigzag up to try and find the refueling stations. But Matthew was brilliant. He helped me, and we got stops. He rang them all up for me. They confirmed that I could drop in there. And I went to a place called Poivre Mirage. I mean, what a name, Poivre Mirage, you know. And this was a fishing, this was like it's a massive lake.
Yeah.
And planes fly up there in the middle of nowhere. I mean, in the middle of just trees, and nothing.
And then
didn't see anything. And then apparently there's a runway. So I'm looking out and I'm saying to Martin, can you see the runway? I said, we should be here. I said, my sat-nav thing's saying we're here. And he goes, no, I can't see the runway. I said, well, where the freaking hell? I said, we're in the middle of nowhere. I said, I can see some lakes over there. I said, we're in the middle of nowhere. Where? And we're looking down and we saw this, you know, this rolling machine. You know, the rollers on the, I forget what you call it.
Yeah.
You know,
I know what you mean, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, we saw all these big rolling machines just in a clearing between the trees. And I'm like, look, there's something down there. So we sort of flew down. Oh my word! It wasn't a runway. It was like a track, and they were just rolling it. They had a plane come in, so they put the rolling machine out just to grind all the gravel back again. So it was just gravel, you know, and that was it. So there was no runway. It was just gravel. It was like, oh my god! So we landed there, and the guys were all speaking French, didn't speak in English.
Oh.
I speak a little bit of French, so we said like fuel, got the fuel thing. So the guy opens this wooden shack, pulls out this pipe, and he's like. The generator ne marche pas, doesn't work, you know. And I'm like, oh, God, I'm like, jeepers, we're here now, we're at Poivre Mirage, we can't get back out again, we don't have enough fuel.
Yeah.
And we can't fuel up, you know. And he's trying, and we're in a baking heat, and there's midges and bitey things everywhere, you know. I'm getting bitten to death, they're feasting on me, you know. I'm like, oh, I've got, and anyway, in the end...
The Irishman's gone to sleep, obviously, at this point.
Yeah, no. Got it fired up, got the fuel in, we thought, great. And then he said, when we said, any food, can we eat something to eat? Took us down to the lodge, down this dirt track. Amazing. We had this incredible lunch. And it was very sad because they'd had nobody there. They'd had nobody there for months. They'd had a couple of planes that come in. Normally, it was heaving.
Yeah.
And there was us and one other couple in this lodge. Incredible. And it was absolutely beautiful.
Right.
So I saw some amazing sights.
Get amazing sights. Icebergs. Nice, you know, look great when you're looking at got them on your screensaver, or you see them on Ice Age 2 or Ice Age 1 or in the movies, unless you're watching Titanic. What are they like to fly amongst? Because what height are you doing, by the way?
Well, that was the thing. We were coming into, we were on the east side of Greenland, and we were in Amasilac, but the fueling spot was in Kulusuk, which is like 10 minutes away. So we lifted off, fog came down, and the fog was covering Kulusuk. Right. So I was like, we got to somehow get around this to get in. And I said, I know what we'll do. Because the fog tends to hang around the coast, we'll go out. We'll go out to sea. We'll drop down below it, and we'll fly in. We tried this.
Very Apocalypse Now, by the way. Can I just say at this point, you know, flying in low over the ocean. Charlie don't surf and all that, you know. And
there was a blooming great iceberg right in front of us. I'm like, emergency stop, back out again. I'm like, my God, that's not going to work. You know, and there it was, this huge iceberg right in front of us on the way in. And these things are enormous, but they're bigger underneath the sea.
Yeah.
And the incredible thing from a helicopter, we can be 100 feet, 200 feet off the sea. You can see all this. You can see from above. You're looking down on it.
Oh, yeah.
You can see the big lump of ice, and underneath it, you can see it just spreads out. It is huge. And even if we even touched one of those, it would be finished. So we came back out again, and we had to drop in. We had to sort of drop vertically into the airfield and hope we hit the runway. Are
there sort of airways? I mean, are you supposed to keep to a certain track? Because I'm just thinking, not there's an awful lot of Bell 505s whizzing around there, but there are there airlines? I mean, you're saying, are there routes you can't take? I mean, you can't just, or can you just head east and go for it and hope you don't make somebody coming west in the opposite direction?
Well, we did file flight plans each day, saying that this is where we're going. But I mean, when you get once you're out of the south of Canada and you're flying up, there's nothing up there really. There's nothing. I mean, when we went into Poivre Mirage, there's no control tower. There's nobody there to help you, to rescue you. Yeah. There's nothing. There's like a little tiny wooden shack that we couldn't even see from the air, and there's a big rolling machine, and that was it. And a couple of guys that are doing their best to maintain it, basically dressed in rags.
Right.
And there is no control tower there. There's no one to. So there's no even on the charts we had. There's no radio. So normally you put a frequency in, control tower frequency and radio up. There's not even a frequency to sound coming in. There's nothing. So it was just like, in we fly and keep a good lookout. But I mean, there was no one there. There was no one there. And in a way, because of COVID, it was very, very quiet. The areas are very quiet.
Sure.
Between the different countries, so from Canada to Greenland and Greenland to Iceland, we filed a flight plan to say we were coming in. So they knew. So Sisimiut in Greenland knew we were coming from Canada.
Right.
And they knew roughly what time we were coming. The trouble is, we take off. And there was a control tower at Pang Near Tong, but it wasn't manned.
Yeah.
So we just took off when we felt like it. And they get like one plane a week comes in. So we just took off. And then we're heading for Sisimiut, and we're out of radio contact for 4 hours. So we're not talking to anybody for 4 hours. Ooh. And that is very scary. We're just going, and it's like, what height do you want to fly at? And the guy at Bell had said to me, go high. Don't go underneath, go high. Try and get in the jet stream.
Yeah.
And we looked at the forecast for that day, and it said there were going to be clouds up to 9,000 feet. And we thought, well, great. As long as we're below 10,000, we don't need oxygen. We don't need oxygen. Yeah. So we're okay because we've got 1,000 feet to fly in, and we can't go into the clouds. So 9,000 minutes, we'll go over. Going under was 500 feet between us and the sea, and all the icebergs down there. And I thought, that's not safe, because if the cloud moves down and closes up, we're dead. Yeah. So I thought, we'll go over. Anyway, we went over, so we refueled at Kullerstock, off we went. Lovely, all nice and clear, went up and up and up, could see the clouds in front of us, and the freezing fog, went up and above it, got to 9,000, that's great, and then the cloud rose, got to 10,000, it rose, got to 11,000, 12,000, 13,000, 14,000.
At which point you're holding your breath?
40, yeah, I was like, I'm looking at Martin, I said, listen, mate, if I pass out, I said, you better be ready to take the controls, because I said the air's very thin up here. So we were up at 14,500 feet for 2.5 hours. Whoa. Minus 14 degrees C, and it was cold. And then Martin goes to turn the knob. It was either windscreen or feet. Yeah. And he goes to turn the knob, and he snaps the knob.
Yay!
He snaps the heating knob when we're up in the air at 14,500 feet. And I'm like, mate, what have you done? I said, you better have snapped that on defog on the windscreen, not on our feet, because otherwise the windscreen will frost up and we're stuck. And I said, so we're then, for the next 5 minutes, we're desperately scrambling around trying to feel whether the air's going down or up. And I was like, oh my God. And luckily for us, he snapped it on the windscreen, not on our feet.
You
so
see.
We had air. So for the rest of the trip, we just had air permanently blowing on the windscreen.
Well, better than get out the front and wash it off. I'm going to run out of time. As you can tell, I could talk to you till we land. But what was landing like? I mean, did you kiss the tarmac when it was finally delivered?
Oh, there's a great picture in the book of me landing in Scotland in Stornoway, and I'm just lying flat on the ground. I've peeled the dry suit off. I'm flat on my back. I'm lying there, and I'm absolutely dripping. And there's a picture in the book of it, actually. I just fell out the helicopter, ripped the suit off, and just flat on my back, and that was it.
The book is called Arctic Insanity. Listeners, go to the Talk Radio bookshop and click on the link, click on the picture, you find out. But Jules, all this money is going to a special cause as well, isn't it, from the book?
Yeah, it goes to my cancer charity. All the profits from the sale of the book, I get nothing from it. All the profits go to my cancer charity.
And is there a website people can check you out on, or social media or Instagram, something like that?
We've just set the charity up, so we are working on that at the moment.
And what's the charity called one more time then?
It's called the Mountain Cancer Care Charity.
Mountain Cancer Care Charity. I'm going to run out of time. Jules, thanks for your time today.